Welcome into our Backyard Brothers podcast again. It is August 19th. We are on round two of four for NFL preview today, and we're covering 8 teams. I was curious if Cody was going to wear a certain team repping today, and so I decided to try to do that as well. He's repping. Okay. We will talk about those two teams later, but we are going to start with a different division. Um, so I'm going to share my screen here. Do you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, we are starting with Buffalo Bills and the AFC East today. Okay, the Bills were the favorite to win the Super Bowl all last year, but instead they got embarrassed in the divisional round by the Bengals. Josh Allen was up and down. He had a great season with 30 plus touchdowns, but he also led the league in turnovers, interceptions, and fumbles, and they all came at the wrong time, in the wrong place. So, but he is back. Uh, James Cook took over the leading running back role halfway through the season and didn't let it go. Stephon Diggs is an all pro. Dawson Knox is a pro bowler. Dalton Kincaid was their first round pick out of Utah, the first tight end taken. He's going to play a lot of versatile roles in this offense. He's going to play slot receiver. He's going to play goal line receiver, a lot more than just tight end. Their offensive line was an issue, and so they completely redid their two guards. They got Connor McGovern from the Cowboys, and they drafted Osiris Torrance from the University of Florida. The other three remain the same. They grabbed Leonard Floyd from the Rams to be their defensive end off the edge to join those other two, as well as Von Miller from the other side. Von Miller was injured for most of last year. He will be back this year. He's working his way back, probably be back by the end of the season or by the end of November. Or my gosh, I can't speak. By the end of September. Um, they lost Tremaine Edmonds at middle linebacker, and they didn't really replace him. They got AJ Klein, hopefully to do the replacing. Matt Milano was an All-Pro, best linebacker in the league, maybe. Whoops. Uh, their secondary was hurt a lot of last year, and a lot of these pieces. In fact, three of them were hurt most of last year. Jordan Poyer was the lone guy that really tried to keep this afloat. Offensive depth, you can see they reworked a lot of their running backs in particular. Damian Harris, Latavius Murray joined this group. Nyheim Hines was an all-pro at returner. He broke his leg in an off-season jet ski accident, and so he won't be playing this year. They grabbed Darrington Evans to do that as a kick returner. And on the defensive depth, the only couple I'll point out here on the bottom, Dorian Williams was drafted to potentially replace Tremaine Edmonds at middle linebacker. And you got to point out DeMar Hamlin there. He had a cardiac arrest on the field last year. He is returning healthy to the field this year to join Taylor Rapp as well from the Rams. In the special teams, everyone returns intact. The one thing I'll point out in coaching staff, Leslie Frazier, the defensive coordinator last year, is taking a year off. And so Sean McDermott will be calling defensive plays for the first time in addition to his head coaching roles. So we are jumping in. I think we left off with me. So I'm going to start with the Bills. I think the biggest thing with the Bills is just recovering from those turnovers. They were in the wrong place at the wrong time last year, happening in the end zone, happening in either red zone, really, whether it was their own or whether it was the other. It caused a lot of points to be lost in one way or another. The Bills are still a really, really great team, and I think their championship window may be closing a little bit, and so they're kind of going all in for this is the year or it's not. And is Josh Allen the guy that's going to lead us there? He has to figure out his issues with turnovers. Defensively, they were hurt a lot of last year in a lot of big places, and so if they stay healthy, this is a really good defense. Micah Hyde, Tre'Davious White, Jordan Poyer in the back end, those three are really great players. And so I think if they stay healthy, this is a team that they have a lot of competition in the AFC East this year, but I think they can still win this division. Over to Cody.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they are, I can't say the team to beat because we know that's not true. They are a team to beat though in the AFC. Not just in the AFC East, but they are a team to beat in the AFC. Josh Allen, I think, is the chosen one for the team. There's no doubt that he can't. There's no doubt that he doesn't have the potential to be that quarterback, Super Bowl MVP winning quarterback kind of guy for them. But he's still, let's see, he's been in the league for what, 4 years now or something, maybe 5 years, maybe not quite 5 years, somewhere around there, I
5 years. I
think.
think it's
5 years,
5 years.
okay, 5 years. So he's at the point where he should know, most things. And I think that this is that year that I think they're going to expect that out of him. He's like, let's go out there and show us, prove it to us. We like they know that he can do it, but prove that in these tough situations that you can be careful with the ball, you can make smart decisions. And I'm pretty sure that's what he's been working on all offseason. So I think it's their defense, as you said, was hurt a lot last year. If they're healthy, this defense is really really good. Um, and by themselves could probably win games if healthy. The offense, of course, is really good, but I think it all comes down to on Josh Allen and what he can do decision making wise. So I think that we can expect to see them obviously in the playoffs, and they can make a deep run if Josh Allen can make some good decisions.
Yeah, my take on the Bills somewhat similar to yours. Both of you is with Josh Allen and the turnovers, and I think the biggest thing that they've done, you mentioned the offensive line, is revamp that offensive line, and hopefully McDermott can tell them, like, you don't need to run around, you don't need to scramble. Trust your offensive line, get through the reads, and make a throw from the pocket. Quit doing these off-platform throws. Quit trying to get first downs diving head first. I mean, yeah, you're the size of a tight end, but you don't need to play like one. Play like a quarterback. And so hopefully with that offensive line, it can give him the confidence to take a 3-step drop and throw a pass. He has the receiving core in order to do that. He doesn't need to put it all on his shoulders. And so hopefully he can have the confidence in the offensive line and the patience and the calmness to play like an all-pro quarterback should play. And if he can do that, there's absolutely no ceiling. This is a team that can go 17-0 and win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And you reminded me of something, Dustin, that the Bills did in the offseason. They really revamped that running game. As I said, last year it was Devin Singletary, who was more of a receiver than anything. And they decided to try to take that pressure off of Allen and bring in two traditional running backs, Damian Harris, Latavius Murray, to join James Cook. They're trying to make sure all the pressure is not on Josh Allen to win games, and I like that.
That's probably the way it should be. I think a lot of the bad decision making was probably a lot of that pressure on him.
Yeah, to draw a comparison, look at the way Tom Brady played his entire career, right? Obviously the GOAT, but it was never, he always was surrounded by talented players, and he would get rid of the ball in 2 seconds or less most often. It's a great system, but he had that calmness and that patience, and he never needed to run around and scramble. And that's a prototype as a quarterback. And you can try, if Josh Allen can try to model some of the way he plays off of that, it can be a real benefit to the Bills.
Yeah, I agree. I was just going to say that's why he went to Tampa Bay, because they already had all those weapons for him, and then they went and won the Super Bowl. So,
okay, on to the next team here, and the Miami Dolphins. They were doing really really good for about half the season, and then Tua Tagovailoa got injured, and he stayed injured. He actually had 2 concussions last year, and the difference between when he was out there and when he wasn't was night and day with the Dolphins. When he was playing, the Dolphins were in the lead for the number 1 seed and the bye. They were that good. They were number 1 seed in the AFC, and then without him, they stumbled all the way to the 7th seed in the AFC, and they played really good in that playoff game against the Bills. But still, it just was not the same without him at quarterback. So, biggest thing about him is staying healthy. Because if he does, this team is good. You see the weapons they have. Really, two really good receivers. Tyreek Hill was All Pro last year. Jalen Waddle is right up next to him. Raheem Mostert stayed healthy most of last year. He's one of the fastest guys in the league at running back. Durham Smythe at tight end. Offensive line stays pretty much the same. Teron Armstead is still an All-Pro at left tackle. He's going to miss 4 or 5 games every year. That's just it's what's happened his whole career. But he's really good when he's there. They did grab Isaiah Wynn, who was the left tackle of the Patriots, to play the right tackle for the Dolphins. So we'll see what happens there. On defensive line, Christian Wilkins has really come into his own as a great player on the defensive line. He moves into the middle on rushing situations. Manuel Ogba is really good on the edge as well. Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb make 2 really good edge rushers as well. They brought David Long over to be a middle linebacker to help in this defense as well. This secondary may be one of the best in the NFL now that they've added Jalen Ramsey to play alongside Xavier Howard. Those are 2 probably top 3 or top 5 cornerbacks in the NFL on the same team. Javon Holland and Brandon Jones are 2 really good young safeties as well. Offensive depth, because of Tua's injury history, they upgraded at the backup quarterback position. They grabbed Mike White from the New York Jets as a backup. He's still going to be a significant drop off if Tua gets injured, but not as significant as last year. The rest, as you can see there. The defensive depth, they only had 4 draft picks. One of them was on Cam Smith, that 2nd round pick, to make that secondary even better. Deshaun Elliott also comes over to help that secondary. That's a pretty good secondary, especially with the depth and the starters considered in there. Special teams, they changed out punters. Jake Bailey comes over from the Patriots as well to be that punter. Coaching staff, the biggest change is bringing over Vic Fangio, defensive coordinator. That's a big change. He's a great defensive coordinator. He's wherever he goes, they have great defenses. He wasn't great as Denver's head coach for a couple of years, but as a defensive coordinator, he is special. Over to Cody. Dolphins.
So, well, let's first start off with Jalen Ramsey got injured in practice. And so he's going to be out for, I'm trying to remember exactly. It was a fall meniscus repair. So
I think it was a 3 to 4 week thing that he'll miss the first couple, maybe month of the season. Yeah.
So I mean, obviously secondary is still good. That's why they got Cam Smith. They got a good backup, but at the same time, Jalen Ramsey is Jalen Ramsey. And so I expect, for however long he misses, might be 3 weeks, might be 5 weeks. I don't think it'll be more than that though, but I think those are some of the most important games for the Dolphins to win defensively because of that empty slot for them. So I think if they need to step up on defense, if they can keep their defense healthy, bring back Jalen Ramsey, then I mean, they just got to fill up the boxes. They're not going to be passing. People aren't going to be passing on this team. So I think that they have really good shot at being a good defensive team. Offensively, they got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. I just wonder about Tua Tagovailoa. How long can he stay healthy? Because if he gets injured one more time, especially if he gets a concussion, I mean, not only are you missing the season, I mean, retirement is on the table at that point. I think Steve Young had 2 concussions and he was out. He retired at that point, or maybe 3. I don't remember what it was. So concussions are dangerous. We know that, and so I worry about Tua a little bit for his health. And so offensively is a question mark for me for the Dolphins. Is really just how long can everyone stay healthy. So this team has the potential to be really good. I just need to see it happen. I can't predict a good finish for this team yet until I can see it happen, just because of that question mark for me on offense. That's my main analysis of the team.
Also talking about Tua, so last year I felt like he proved me wrong. I was not high on Tua at all. I didn't think that this was a team that he could lead. But he ended up, having a 65% completion and 3,500 yards, and just that was really proving me wrong. And so, I think that they are poised to do well, injuries aside, as you mentioned, Cody. But this is a team that has weapons everywhere, both sides of the ball. Obviously, both Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, who are both, potentially top 10 receivers in the league. They're really set up for success, and so I look forward to what they do this season, and I'm going to be a Dolphins fan. And look forward to watching Tua, especially this year, being able to build upon what he did last year. I hope it's good.
Yeah. Defensively, I think the Dolphins are going to be really good. You bring in Vic Fangio. He's proven everywhere he's gone. He is an excellent defensive coordinator, and he already has a lot of pieces in place across this defense to be really good. And so they're going to be tough defensively. Offensively, I share the same concerns as you, Cody. Tua almost retired this offseason because of it. He was actually consulting with his health professionals, his doctors. Can I play? And if I get injured, will I, be okay? And they gave him the clean bill of health. But yeah, he lost some confidence. He lost some things. But when he was playing, like you said, Dustin, this guy was an MVP candidate at one point early, midway through the season, and he was playing really, really good football. Hopefully, he can get back to that. I'd like to see him succeed. I I worry about their offense a little bit, especially if Tua gets hurt. But their defense is going to be strong. Anything else about the Dolphins?
Yeah, that receiving core, is the one thing that can kind of replace perhaps Tua's inconsistency and just being able to show up is just that receiving core and how reliable they are. And obviously that you can use one of those receivers, Tyreek Hill, as a do anything you want, and he'll just outrun everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick, we'll talk about him in a second, but he's not very high on this guy apparently right now. And he's not very talkative to the media in particular, but he has actually not committed to Mac Jones as a starting quarterback all off season. He says, "We'll see. It's training camp," but it's pretty clear that Mac Jones is going to be the starter. I don't know why Bill Belichick is really kind of low on him, but he's going to be the starter. He had a horrible year last year, but I'll talk why in a second. It wasn't totally his fault, but Mac Jones will be the quarterback anyway. Biggest change that happened this week. They signed Ezekiel Elliott to be their new running back. He was declining in his production in Dallas the last couple of seasons, but he still had 3 1,000-yard seasons in his career. He's still an impactful player. He will be the running back to lead the Patriots onto the field. They also grabbed Juju Smith-Schuster and Mike Gesicki. So 3 new offensive weapons to start on this team. Mike Gesicki, division team. Juju Smith-Schuster, probably not a number 1 receiver. He couldn't handle that in Pittsburgh, but alongside Devontae Parker, that could be a pretty good tandem there. Offensive line remains fairly similar, especially on the left side. Michael Onwenu was a all-pro player at right guard, but he's dealing with an injury, trying to come back from it. Right tackle, they're not sure what they're going to do. Riley Rife was a great player early in his career. He struggled the last few years late in his career, but he may start at right tackle there. Here's the defensive line. Same across the board. Guy, Gocho, and Wise. Matthew Judon was leading the NFL in sacks until Nick Bosa took him over in the final game of the season, I believe. So Matthew Judon is a really impactful pass rusher there. Christian Gonzalez was a first-round pick. He will start immediately on the outside at cornerback, along with these other 4 guys here who are all returning to the team. The Patriots use 3 safety systems, and so you're going to see Jalen Mills, Kyle Duggar, and Jabril Peppers all on the field at the same time. They love to use their 3 safeties. Kyle Duggar is a guy who plays a lot of linebacker more than safety, but you'll see a lot of that. Offensive depth, Bailey Zappi had a good couple of games when he was in there for an injured Mac Jones. You see a lot of rookies. Patriots had a lot of draft picks. Ramondre Stevenson also had a really good season. He's going to play probably 50-50 snaps with Ezekiel Elliott, but a lot of rookies here. Defensive depth, Keon White was their second round pick. He's going to come off the edge quite a bit as well. You see Marcus Jones, he was so impactful everywhere on the field. He played a lot of offense as well because they just gave him the ball, in addition to playing in the return teams. They change out their kicker and punter with two rookies, two draft picks at kicker and punter here. Chad Ryland, Bryce Behringer. They do have Nick Folk, but when you draft a kicker, you're probably going to play him. So that's why I've put him there. So the coaching staff is significantly different. Last year, Bill Belichick tried a new thing. He had Matt Patricia and I'm trying to remember the other guy. I think it was Joe Judge, actually. But Matt Patricia was an offensive coordinator. That's funny because he's not an offensive coordinator. He's a defensive coordinator. But he called the offensive plays, and it worked out horribly. Matt Patricia's not even on the staff anymore this year. But Bill O'Brien was hired to be the new offensive coordinator. He's been the offensive coordinator for the Patriots before in his career. So that will help Mac Jones' development as well, a lot. So, Dustin, Patriots.
Yeah, this is a team that I feel like I can have a confident prediction on, and my confident prediction is that they'll be exactly mediocre all season long, and that this is the team that they won't win more than 10 games and they won't lose less than 7. They're just going to be around that 500 mark again. Struggle in different ways, succeed in different ways, but overall, just another season full of mediocrity. There may be, you may be standouts like Judon, but everybody else is just going to be an average player for the most part. I'm a fan of Mac Jones, and I hope that he can be successful this season. He had a great rookie season, but so hopefully he can get back to that. I like him as a guy, and I hope he can do well. I don't have much more to add.
Okay. All due respect to you, Dustin, I think 7 wins might be their ceiling for me this year. I don't like the Patriots, what they've done. I think they're falling off the cliff here. They're still trying to rebuild from losing Tom Brady and a lot of other players that went with him. I don't like the roster, especially in this division. You have 3 other teams that are probably playoff teams in this division, and so you're I think the Patriots are going to finish 4th in this division for the first time in a long time in that cellar. The defense is going to be okay. Bill Belichick always is a good defensive play caller. He has good defenses. The offense I don't trust anywhere. Mac Jones, I think he'll be better this year than he was last year. I do, because he has Bill O'Brien to help him. I like Ezekiel Elliott in this offense. In Dallas, I wouldn't like him, but in this offense, I think I like him a little bit better, a little bit more focus on the running game than they had in Dallas. I think will help him, but I just don't like the offense that much here. And so they've changed out a lot of rookies. They've changed over coaching staff. They seem a little between, okay, should we just go full rebuild or should we try to be competitive here? And I just think that this season's going to tell them, okay, we start a full rebuild next year, because I don't like the outcome for this year if I'm a Patriots fan.
Yeah, I think I agree, and in line with Scott with the Patriots than I do with you, Dustin. I think 7 is probably their ceiling. I would be surprised and impressed if they reached 8. But I think 7 is their ceiling. They might even be a 6-win team, a 6-win team. I think, yeah, Bill O'Brien is I think the good addition here. He's been there before. He's gonna be doing good again. We already know all about Bill O'Brien. I agree with you, Scott. I'm not a Mac Jones fan. I don't think he should be starter. to be honest. I think it should be Bailey Zappi, in my opinion, which I know is a lot of people would probably disagree with that because he only has what half a year, I think, of experience so far. So I would say, you give Mac Jones 4 or 5 games to play, and if he's not productive in any sense, just give the reins to Bailey Zappi. I just trust him more at this point. Um, but I guess I want to finish my thought with a question to you guys. Bill Belichick is in, I think, his 24th season. He's been there a long time. He's used to a lot of success. The last few years, though, he hasn't done very well just because the exodus of Tom Brady. So, do you think that with a mediocre at best season, if not just another losing season, is he going to be looking at retirement soon? Tell me what you guys think.
I don't know. I think he wants to go out on a good note, but he's also in his 70s. So I I don't know. He may get tired of, and I know that Gerard Mayo, their linebackers coach, he got some head coaching offers and head coaching interviews, and he flat out declined to even be interviewed. And I think why is because there's a succession plan in place for Gerard Mayo to replace Bill Belichick as head coach of New England. Um, and so I could see that happening sooner rather than later. I don't know if next season is going to be that soon. Uh, so that's my thought there. I'm going to push back on something else. Mac Jones was a first round pick. Yeah, he was a first round pick 3 years ago, 2 years ago, something like that. They're paying him a lot of money. After this year, they can choose whether to decline his option or give him his option. And so I think they're going to ride with him all season, no matter what, to see if they want to do that or not. And unless he's like, 2 touchdowns and 14 interceptions, unless it's that bad, and I don't think it's going to be that bad, but I think they're going to ride with him no matter what at this point.
Yeah, to address the Belichick question, I think it's a really interesting comparison looking at basketball to Greg Popovich. They've been in their respective leagues about the same amount of time, have the same amount of championships roughly, and both are coaching in their 70s. And Popovich, they asked him, "Why do you keep coaching?" And he jokes, "Money. That's why." And he also just has a love for the game. And Belichick's the same way. Why does he keep coaching? Money, and because he loves the game. And so he can coach as long as he wants, and they'll have a succession plan in place. And I think retirement is completely his choice. There's been head coaches in their 80s, and that's never been an issue before. And so he can coach as long as he wants. I think the only way they ever fire him is if he goes 0-17.
Agree. Okay, and maybe not even that. Honestly, he's won 7 Super Bowls with the Patriots. He's earned his keep. He can choose to go out whenever he wants, I think, at this point. But okay. On to the last team in this division, the New York Jets, the darlings of Hard Knocks. I don't know if either of you two watch Hard Knocks, but it's fun to watch. And so, especially this year, I've been interested in watching the Jets off season. They're the obvious pick when you bring Aaron Rodgers over to be the quarterback for your Jets. He is following the exact footsteps of his predecessor, Brett Favre, who played the same amount of years in Green Bay and then went to New York for one season. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to be here for just 1 year or not, but he's a 4-time MVP. This is the biggest addition New York has ever made. And so Aaron Rodgers, looking at Hard Knocks, this guy, I know it's for the cameras and everything, but he seems really invested in this team. I know, and it's just amazing to watch these coaches say, "This guy is amazing. We've never seen a quarterback up close that can do the things that this guy can do." And so it's fun to watch Hard Knocks with him in it. These guys also made a change this week. They got Dalvin Cook, who was released from the Minnesota Vikings, and spent quite a few weeks looking for a contract, and the Jets finally picked him up. So Dalvin Cook is there in addition to Aaron Rodgers. That's two big players from the NFC North that are going to help this team. They also brought over Alan Lazard, one of Rodgers' teammates last year in Green Bay. Garrett Wilson was the offensive rookie of the year last year at wide receiver as well. So don't overlook those weapons. That's a big number of weapons to go with Aaron Rodgers. Offensive line is where maybe some issues come in. Dwayne Brown took over at left tackle last year and was good enough to stay, and they've kept him the job. Mekhi Becton was drafted as a left tackle. He's now playing right tackle for the Jets. Laken Tomlinson had a rough year at left guard, but he's proved he can be good. Elijah Vera Tucker and Connor McGovern are the other two. This is where some troubles have been seen so far in the preseason. So defensive line is one of the best in the NFL. Quinnen Williams is a game wrecker at defensive tackle. He is really, really good. Will McDonald was their first pick at defensive end. He should be really good as well. Carl Lawson missed all of last season, and so coming in at defensive end should be good as well. CJ Mosley is an all-pro at middle linebacker to join these other two guys. Quincy is the brother of Quinnen. So we have two brothers here starting. Sauce Gardner was fantastic. He was defensive rookie of the year last year, all pro in every category. He's one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, even in his second season. They brought over Adrian Amos as well from Green Bay. They did bring over Chuck Clark, a really good strong safety from the Ravens. He tore his ACL in OTAs, and so he will miss this season. Jordan Whitehead was the incumbent. He'll return to that spot. Offensive depth includes Zach Wilson, who was the quarterback last year. He's now the backup and has taken it in stride. Breece Hall is recovering from a torn ACL. He was really, really good as a rookie until he tore his ACL. And so they project him to be fully back by October or so. And so that's why they went out and got Dalvin Cook to bridge that gap until Breece Hall is back. McCole Hardman is another addition they made to their wide receiver group to help out. And they really made some changes in that offensive line as well. Billy Turner could start at one of the tackle spots. He's a really good player, has been with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay for a lot of years as well. And so that's a possibility. Defensive depth includes some additions from Seattle in particular on the defensive line. And Quentin Jefferson and Al Woods joining. Justin Hardy was an all-pro at the special teams unit. And so he returns there. Thomas Morstead is the addition at punter. The other two remain the same. Nathaniel Hackett, who had a nightmare of a year coaching the Denver Broncos as head coach, rejoins his friend Aaron Rodgers as offensive coordinator in New York. Better offensive coordinator than head coach, obviously, but he could help that unit quite a bit. Robert Saleh is in his third season. There's a lot of hype for the Jets, hence Hard Knocks. And so he has to do a lot to show that this team is worth its share. So back to me, I think, for the New York Jets. A lot of hype, like I just mentioned. The New York Jets are on the hype train for a lot of teams, a lot of people. Remember, this team had a horrible quarterback last year, had a horrible offense. But because of their defense, this team still almost made the playoffs. They were 7-10. But they lost their last 4 straight games. They were 7-3 at one point. No, 6-3, and they went 1-7 to finish their season. And so this was a really good team on defense. And now you add all of the players on offense, including Aaron Rodgers. There's a lot of hype to think that this team could do a lot. I don't think they're going to leapfrog the Bills to win this division, but this is a playoff team, in my opinion. This is a wild card team that could do a lot of good things. I like what the Jets have done. I don't like Aaron Rodgers too much as a person. I think he's an idiot, but that doesn't mean he's not a great football player, a great quarterback. I think he's one of the best to ever play the position, and I think the Jets are going to do a lot of good things this year.
Yeah. I remember talking about the Hard Knocks real quick. I didn't see him, but I saw a clip about Robert Saleh addressing the hype in the locker room about some you might know it better than me, Scott, but some kind of bird being the only kind, like a crow, I think, being the only bird that would attack a bald eagle or something like that. And that what the eagle will do will just ride up until it runs out of air and then it falls. And so I like that comparison. He seems like a great coach. I know he is a great coach, a very good defensive mind as well. We saw that in San Francisco. Um, we also know that Nathaniel Hackett is a really good offensive coordinator, as we saw with Green Bay, and compare them with or team him up with Aaron Rodgers. There's not a whole lot they can do, and they just did that here. In my opinion, Aaron Rodgers was the only missing piece for this team. The defense is outstanding. The offense has all the weapons that they could possibly ask for. There's no complaining that Aaron Rodgers can do here. Here, at least he better not be, because he has everything he needs. And so as long as Aaron Rodgers doesn't pull a Russell Wilson and just suck out of nowhere, this team has every reason and every right to be one of the best, if not the best. I'm saying that in the AFC. Um, I think that I think they will leapfrog the Bills if they, this is saying everyone's healthy, people are playing okay, things like that. They have the ability, the potential to definitely leapfrog the Bills and win this division. I think that they can, at very minimum, flip their record 10-7. I think that's a minimum, and that's, to me, that's kind of disappointing. I think they should and would do better than that. But I'm very high on the Jets this year because of those reasons. If you guys have any pushback, I'd like to hear it.
So I'm exactly the opposite. There is a lot of hype, and I'm maybe it's a little bit of misplaced hope, but I'm kind of expecting just a fall on their face kind of season. Um, we know that there's a lot of talent. We know that there's a lot of skill, but there's also a lot of divas. Aaron Rodgers being number one there. And I'm just not sold on this culture and this team gelling in any way in which they can win games except out of pure selfish talent. And so I'm not sold at all on the Jets being a good team. I think that at best, looking at their division, they're the third best team in the division. The Bills are a better team and the Dolphins are a better team. This is the hardest division in probably the league. And I think at best they're the third best team, and I've predicted them to finish fourth. There could be multiple reasons on how they get there, but I'm not sold on this Jets team, and I can look at history, and the Jets have done this type of reset many times throughout the history, and it's never really been successful at all. You can look at, it was probably like 2007 with Rex Ryan, and they brought over LaDainian Tomlinson and all of that, and it was a failure of a season. Did it again with Brett Favre, and I think they won less than 8 games that season, things like that. And so I'm just not sold on this being the time that it works. What's the definition of insanity? And so I'm just not sold on the Jets being able to all of a sudden put it together by doing the same thing over and over again and being able to leapfrog and be the best team in the division. So I'm not sold, and maybe it's wishful thinking, but I kind of hope that it's a season that falls flat.
Yeah. Okay, let me share another screen here if I can.
We're gonna go out in a second. We'll come back in.
Yeah. But as you can see, that's the AFC East picks. All of us except Cody picked the Bills to finish first, and the rest is kind of all over the board there. But we will see you on the other side here. Give me 3 minutes and then join. So yeah.